Hey, this is Brian with Window Repair TV, and today we're just going to go over a little bit more in depth on how to rescreen your window screen. So if you have any damage to it, or if you are going to build a new screen, this will give you some good tips. And we're going to show you how you can use some of our window screen kits, which come with different variety of different mesh, from gray to black. And it also includes the spline and the tool that you need to install it, or we have different knockdown kits that have different color frames and different size and different splines with the appropriate corner keys. So if you have any questions, just feel free to comment below, and then also message us and click on the links so you can see all the different products that we offer. All right, thanks. Each of these kits come with a 48-inch screen mesh and spline to reinstall onto your screen. So one of the first things you're going to do is find a work area to be able to put the mesh on your screen. And if you don't have a nice screen table like this, you're going to have to either just work on a plywood table. And what you can do is put some tape down on the edges to keep it from moving around. Or you can get some small pieces of wood, screw it down to the table. It just keeps the frame from sliding around when you're trying to mesh it. So one of the first things you're going to do is take a Phillips head screwdriver or any kind of tool that you can get into the edge of the spline channel to be able to pull up the screen, the spline that's holding in the mesh. So once you do that, you can just lift it out all the way around. This mesh is aluminum frame, or aluminum mesh, and that can be a real pain to do. We recommend people don't even try that at home. We've gotten away from even selling the kits. So we're going to replace this mesh with some fiberglass. A customer dropped by and basically they just needed us to remesh for screen, so I figured this would be a good chance to do a video. If you're working with aluminum, you just got to be careful. This stuff can stab you with all the little metal little pokers, basically, all the threads. You can see this one had a big hole in it. So we already have this mesh on a roll here because we manufacture screens for customers and contractors all the time. There's multiple ways of doing this, but how I like to do it is I cut it so there's at least 1 to 2 inches hanging over on the edge. That gives you a little bit of room to play with it. Now I gotta find your right spline. The spline is the Alright, so once you've got your mesh laid up on top of your frame, you got to find the right spline that goes with fits into your spline channel for your frame, specific frame. Now the kits come with a .125 diameter spline, and that's just because that's what's in most residential homes. So basically this just holds in the mesh, and you just have to roll it into the channel. It's easier said than done. So for me, I always start with the longest side and work my way around it. If you're doing aluminum mesh, you're gonna do it a totally different way. But since we're working on fiberglass, that's a lot easier. I hold the mesh down with my left hand. I start kind of hand pushing in or holding in the mesh right at the edge here. So what I do is I put the spline down and I hold it around here, and I take the concave side of your tool, your spline tool, and I just push it in to the track. And when I'm pulling it, I'm trying to pull it as even as possible. And I'm watching the mesh, and it's not pulling to one side or the other. Because when that happens, that means it's going to shift, and you're already putting some tension into the mesh. So you just want to pull nice and straight, and make sure you don't cut the spline or cut the mesh while you're pulling. On this screen, it's got a cross break, so it's going to be a little tricky getting that spline into that spot. Once you get to the corner, how do I get a good corner without over tightening it? Because that can be kind of easy to do at this stage. Is I flatten out the corner here and I pinch the spline so it just kind of comes over, and same with the concave side, I start back here and I kind of push up. So that way it doesn't put too much tension in the corner. Because if you get too much tension in the corner, you're kind of screwed from that part out. It's going to tweak all of the mesh. Don't focus on keeping everything or tightening everything until the last side of the screen. Same thing as I did on the other corner. And now on this side, I'm going to start to kind of pull with my hand, or just slightly keep tension on the middle here while I'm rolling the spline in. And I'm letting it kind of pull. I'm not holding it tight where it's only pulling from this side. I'm letting it pull from the left side also, or the side where I'm holding it. Otherwise, you're going to get it too tight, and you can have it bow in the center of the screen. This screen having it cross brace, with this being the cross brace, that helps prevent that, but that's something to watch out for. And you want to kind of keep slack in your spline so that when you're pulling it back, it's not getting bound up. Because while you're pulling the spline in, it's twisting into the track. And you can kind of see already, based on when you're meshing, if it's going to be a good screen or not. Now, it takes a lot of practice to kind of get it the first time. And you don't want to over tighten it. And just stay in focus so you don't slip off and rip the mesh. done that many times, you pretty much should get done, and then the last second, you just put a hole through it. Okay, so sometimes once you get to the corner, you can see here there's a little bit of a bubble. So what I'll do is I'll pull up on the screen the mesh gently so I can pull the spline here. Pull it back a little bit. Pull some of the mesh out and then just work it back in. Don't over tighten it. That just smooths it out. And so I go through and I push on the corners, just make sure they're in tight. And just go over the screen, make sure there's nothing you need to fix. And then the last step is just cutting off the mesh. And this is an easy way to mess up the screen also, slipping off. So there's a couple ways. Sometimes I'll pull it over like this, where when I'm cutting it, I'm just pushing the blade onto the spline, so it's just cutting easily. Or you can just hold the mesh back like this, and take the blade and cut it against the metal. Both work. Just have to pay attention not to slip and cut yourself or cut the screen. And on this screen kit, it should also work on your screen door. It might need to be a different spline size, but we offer a variety of splines. It takes a couple weeks for a new hire for us to help be able to get up to speed on how fast and quality of screens we make here. But with practice, you can do it. Tape it down. And if you're taping it at home, I'd recommend doing like the edges here, and then also you could just do the corners, and that really helps. But as you can see, we're done. Doesn't take too long once you get the hang of it. All right, as always, we appreciate you stopping by. Like and share, subscribe, and we'll be coming up with more window how-to videos. All right, appreciate it.